Robert Anderson, everybody. Let's give it up for Robert Anderson. Thank you so much, Robert. You know, we are one, and we are all of those things. Every aspect and quality, every word that he sang from that beautiful, beloved song by Sweet Honey in the Rock, we are all of those things. Sometimes all at once, and sometimes as we move through this dance that we call life. And as we move through this dance that we call life, we have moved into a new month, the final month of this year, 2014. It is the month of December. It is the month of what I like to call coming home. It is the month of coming home to oneness. It's the month of embracing and revealing and recognizing and becoming aware that we are truly all of the things that Robert just spoke of and sang of. So, did I say that right? Sang of? Thanks. And it's this month that we come together and fully realize this. So we move gracefully. After a whole month of feeling gratitude and abundance, we are stepping gracefully into this revelation of oneness. And I invite all of you to join me, and as Robert invited, to join us in this moment to really become open to the next 45 minutes. And then see where that takes you throughout the rest of your day today and throughout the rest of the week. And knowing that we are stepping into this month, and there are lots of recognized, celebrated times of oneness that occur in this month, including all of the holidays, and the one that we call Christmas. There's a slide I'd like to share with you. And you may have seen it going around this week, but it's one that I like to share at the beginning of December, because this is what most people's holiday to-do list looks like. Buy presents, wrap gifts, send gifts, shop for food, make cookies, and see the lights. And I'm sure each and every one of you could probably relate to one, if not all, of the items that are there. And there's something about this concept that I have in December about coming home to ourselves as the divine spirit expressing through each one of us, coming home to the we are one. And that is switching it out. Instead of buying presents, or in addition to buying presents, how about we be present? How about we be present with the spirit of the holiday this month? And how about we wrap someone in a hug? Because we're going to talk about how important that is this morning to do that. And how about sending peace? We can send gifts, but what about sending peace? And knowing that peace within ourselves and then sending it out. We can shop for food, but let's not forget to give a little as well. Let's not forget to donate some food to folks that may be hungry. And then how about making love? You know, it's that wrapping people up in a hug. How about making as much love as we possibly can this month and showering everybody in our world with that love that we are creating and making within ourselves, because we are revealing and recognizing our oneness with the divine. And then how about being the light? So while we're donating the food and we're sending the peace and we're making the love, let's just go ahead and show up and be the light as well. And when people go out to look at the lights, how about we be the light? So that as people see that radiating the divine love that's within us, it touches every single person that we come into contact with. And I'd like to build on this list with something that, as you all know, I subscribe to the universe. I get an email from the universe every day, and a lot of you out there get the same one. But there's a very poignant one that the universe sent out at the beginning of this month, and I'm going to read it to you because it's really cute. "'Twas the month of Christmas, and on every single day, I thought of the things that might brighten your way. And then it just hit me like a sleigh hits a roof, that with your own thoughts, you could be your own proof. So choose them with care and lots of emotion, because it's what you are feeling that sets them in motion. And when the clock strikes 12 on a particular eve, you might not believe all that's under your tree. Metaphorically, of course, my dear. Tally ho ho ho, the universe. So I wanted to share that with you. As we move into this idea and this concept of embracing oneness, you know, when we embrace oneness, and I had to tinker a little bit with that talk today, because embrace oneness, reveal oneness, embrace it, reveal it, because, you know, oneness exists, whether we recognize it, reveal it, or embrace it at all, but it already exists. But there's something about this idea of embracing it that we are saying, yes, I am willing to invest my energy and my conscious awareness into this embracing of the oneness that we know that is already existing. And we're going to talk today about a lot of things, about how when we move into this idea of oneness, we have to let go of our concept of separation. And separation is a sneaky little creature. Separation sneaks into our lives and into our thought patterns and our beliefs in ways that sometimes we have a hard time even recognizing that it exists and that it's even there. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that this morning and letting that go so that we can embrace the oneness that we know already exists. And in doing that, we are revealing, and it is a revelation, and it's a beautiful thing. And I want to start out by saying, be compassionate and patient with yourself and with others, because we are one. So that's patience and compassion with yourself and others. In this moment, as we move through this month of glorious festivities, of sharing time with families and friends, of having to-do lists that may be 3 times that long, remember your patience, remember your compassion. And then there's something else that's going on, I believe, in a lot of centers and a lot of churches around the world this week. And some could say that there's a chance there could be a big elephant in this room right now. And I'm not really into big elephants in the room, so I kind of like to bring things out. Let's just all chew on it. And actually, I like to chew on it with love. And so that's going to be a big part of what this talk today is about as well. And that is the certain situations and circumstances that people in our country are finding themselves in due to certain events that have taken place in the last couple of weeks. I have a couple of colleagues, ministerial friends of mine, that have been on the streets and praying on the streets of Ferguson every single day. Every single day. And one of them, Reverend Melissa, actually has been blogging and in our ministerial youth, our ministerial group, her situation and her experiences and what she has personally experienced every single day. And it hasn't been all that easy to read. And I myself, as a religious scientist, I don't deny that the condition exists. What I do is I take a look at what the condition is, and then I deny the falsity of it, because I know that when it all comes down to it, we are one. And I know that when it all comes down to it, the only way to address absolutely everything in my life is to love it, no matter what it is. And sometimes the hairiest, freakiest, scariest, ugliest to our own perception thing that's in front of us can be the hardest thing to love, and it's the thing that needs the most love. So there's this idea that keeps coming back. You just throw a little bit more love to it. If you throw a little bit more love to it, if you throw a little bit more love to it, it will resolve itself and reveal itself as love. And I hear you. You know, some of us could say, well, that's all well and good, but this stuff's really going on. And there's people, you know, in pain, and there's people getting hurt, and there's people with different sides of opinions on things going on, and it's escalating, and what do we do with that? And I am going to address it in detail in my talk today. But I'm going to answer that with one word. You love it. That is the only thing that we can do with it, is love it. And that within ourselves that feels separate, when we feel pulled and tugged in a certain way into a way of reaction or to a way of adding to the consciousness of violence because we don't like what we're seeing, we don't like what we're feeling, we need to do something about it. What we do about it is we love it every single time. And that's not always easy to hear, is it? It's not always easy to swallow. And so the effect and the message that is being revealed, I believe, right now, is how divided that we have been in the past, and that we need to move into rebalancing or come into a realignment with the truth that is reflected. It's reflected in all that we know is true, and it's reflected in nature. The idea of inclusion, of sharing, of giving, and also the awareness of seeing ourselves as a unified organism of this planet. We are all a unified organism of this planet, all of us. Doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter what you sound like, doesn't matter where you grew up, doesn't matter where you were born. We are all unified, a unified organism on this planet. And whether we know it or not, we are living in symbiosis with all other aspects of nature. Nature always retains balance, no matter what. Sometimes despite our knowledge, sometimes despite what we know to do or not to do, nature is always in balance. So we are looking at our reality, I think, right now in our world and seeing how definitions have caused us to feel separated. Have you ever realized that? That's really the definitions that are placed on ourselves, each other, our culture, the color of our skin, what language we speak, what border, what continent we were born in. Those definitions have tended to cause us to feel separate. Have you ever realized that? You know, that's where we're going with this morning. Our cultures are divided, and we're subjected to borders that alienate each other from seeing the essence of who we really are. Well, we know that's not the truth, right? I know all of you guys in this room know that that's not the truth. And I know that you pretty much live your life without borders. Yet we can tune into what's going on in a universal sense and see that there's a lot of people that still see some borders. There's still some people that are feeling separate. And I don't know if the events that have been going on have caused you to feel a little separate. Or maybe has called on you to decide and determine and define the areas that you may be reacting to, and finding out and going within and saying, okay, what's here for me to heal? What's here for me to realize and understand? You know how powerful our words are, especially in this teaching. We talk about, you change your thinking, you change your life. You speak your word, you create your reality. Well, there's this idea that the relationship we have to our words is the relationship we have to the definitions of those words. And it can be very limiting. We're still living in this dimension where we can truly feel limits. The definitions that are placed on words can limit us in our ability to experience the true essence of something. And so I'm going to recommend you to just let that go. What if we let go of predetermined and predefined definitions? What if we created our own based on what we know to be capital T, truth? What if we could do that? Especially on a day like today. Especially on a week like this week. Or a year like this year. What if we redefined what it is that those definitions are telling us to automatically be limited to? It's kind of like a book. You can have a book written in two different languages. The book still says the same thing, but it's written in two different languages. It's the same. It's the same story. It's the same book. But it can sound very different. So when we define ourselves, we limit the truth of what we are. And again, that is why we are needing to dissolve the essence of our illusions of separateness, the false definitions that limit our collective and individual potential. Our skin is a direct correlation as it reflects definition. And that's what we're finding right now in this country. Right now in this country, there are people that are using skin to define a limitation or possible limitation, to define a boundary. And it's really being talked about a lot right now, isn't it? And does it make you kind of uncomfortable for me to talk about it right now? Are any of you feeling kind of uncomfortable? We live in a Castle Rock, and the center is actually not that diverse. We could go weeks and probably it would never even come up as a subject. But I tell you what, it's coming up as a subject in a lot of other communities. And a lot of people are now starting to say, what can we do? What can we do as an organization? What can we do as an individual? And my answer to that, and it's going to be all throughout this morning, is love. That's what we can do. The idea behind that, behind the skin being a definition of our limitations or lack thereof, is we have to free ourselves from these outdated definitions, no matter what they are. We've got to free ourselves of them. Ones that are trapped in outdated thoughts and forms and ideas, we don't want them to hold us back from understanding and revealing capital T truth. Liberation from the outdated thoughts and definitions comes through dissolving the illusionary barriers that have kept us from experiencing our true potential. Has anybody out there ever felt an illusionary barrier that you have created through a false belief in your mind that has kept you from your potential? Has that ever happened to you? Anybody out there? Yep, it's happened to me. Definitely. And what have you discovered when you have found yourself on the other side? A lot of times we can kind of shrug it off or laugh it off and be like, oh my God, that wasn't as big as I thought it was, or that wasn't as important, or that wasn't as hairy or scary or frightening as I possibly thought it was. But think about how much I let it hold me back. How about we dissolve those? The idea around this, and what I'm bringing into this idea of oneness this morning, is diversity, individuality, and oneness are the key to bringing us back to realignment with each other. Now, there's a concept, isn't it? Who would have ever thought that diversity would be the key to bringing us back to each other? But it is. It really is. It's vital that in this quest for a new paradigm, we learn to embrace each other with open arms, and we're embracing each other's unique individuality. We're embracing each other without any judgment. I'm embracing you not because there's something about you I want you to change. I'm embracing you not because there's something about you that I have this predetermined concept that you're going to behave a certain way because you look a certain way. We're talking about letting that go and embracing your unique individual divine expression and not expecting it to be a certain way, and certainly not judging you if it doesn't show up in the way that we think that you should show up. Isn't that what it's all about? Because I'll tell you, we're going to go a step further here this morning, and we're going to talk about the fact that when you do or don't, when you embrace someone based on their unique individuality and not judge them based on that, or when you do judge them on it, and when you expect them to change, guess what you're actually judging? It's yourself. I am my brother's keeper. You are your brother's keeper. There's a reason for that saying. Each and every relationship that I have, each and every person in my life is simply a mirror for me. We are all connected. We are one, whether you realize it or not. And so many times we can be reminded of this disconnection through nature. We can find ourselves not understanding individuality. We forget that we don't know the totality of truth, that we only know truly our own perspective of it. There's a big concept of the universe and the world out there. I can't possibly know it all. I can only experience it through my perception. And so already I feel limited, right? Already I can't claim to know it all and have it all and be the official authoritative state on that, because already it's all through my perception. You see, I can't possibly judge you on anything. No one can possibly judge anyone on anything. We're all one. And when we let that dissolve, when we step away from that idea and need to judge, then we move into peace. We move into oneness. It's really a beautiful thing. So the essence of oneness is understanding that the paths we walk on earth are linked with discovering our truth. Get it? It's all about discovering our truth and then sharing it with the world. We discover our truth and we share it with the world. That then allows others to expand on their awareness of reality. I'm going to discover my truth and I'm going to share it, and that's going to allow the world to expand on their awareness of reality. because it's not going to be the same as theirs. You know, your truth isn't the same as mine, and I get to grow and expand in my awareness when I experience you. And if you're just like me, and if you look just like me, and if you act just like me, and if you do exactly what I do because that makes me comfortable, I'm not expanding, am I? So we got to let that go. I would rather expand than be comfortable. There's a difference there. I think we all get to move into this moment right now in life and make that decision. Would we rather be comfortable, or would we rather expand in awareness? Because sometimes being separate and not being in oneness can be more comfortable. Kind of like moving into that, what do they call that mentality? That collective mentality, there's a word for it. when we follow the mob, the race consciousness, when we follow that can be a lot more comfortable. So where I'm going with that, I'm going to tell you this really cool story, very cool story. Acoustic Eidolon, who is a wonderful musical performer who has performed here. Some of us went to see them last night in Loveland. They're incredibly wonderful music, and most of you have experienced them here. And Joe and Hannah are the performers, and they've created lots of CDs, they've written lots of songs, it's beautiful music. And Joe told a story that perfectly shares what it is that I am attempting to share with you this morning. And Joe said that one day he got off the Interstate 25, the off-ramp in Denver, and waiting at the light, there was a guy, probably homeless, sitting on a concrete block with a really huge Bible in his lap, and he was stacking up the change that he had received that day. He was like counting his change. And there was something about that visual image that really struck Joe as poignant. And the light turned and he had to go, but he kept that image in his mind for well over a week. It meant something to him and it was powerful to him. And so he decided to write a song about it. And so he wrote a song and he called it Billy Ray, and he recorded it and put it on a CD. Now, what has happened is there's a fan of his that lives in Kansas City and was listening to that CD and was listening to that song called Billy Ray. And she happened to be at a stoplight where there was a homeless person that had a collection cup. And I'm sure the song moved her to give, so she picked up her change cup and she dumped it in his collection cup and went on her merry way. Later that day, she realized that her engagement ring had been sitting in that collection cup in her car that she had dumped in the homeless man's change thing. And she was starting to feel a lot of anxiety around this because it had been a family heirloom, you know, really important, really valuable to her. And so the next day, she went back to the same spot to track him down and to hopefully get her engagement ring back. He was there, and she went up to him and said, "Did you by chance find something unusual in your collection cup yesterday?" And the man reached into his pocket and he held up the ring and he said, "This must be yours." And he gave the ring back to her. Now what had happened is he had taken it that morning to a pawn shop just to see if it was worth anything, because to him it could have been costume jewelry. And in the pawn shop, the owner of the pawn shop at that moment offered him $4,000 for the ring. So he knew that it must have been of great value, and he took it back and he said, "No, thank you." And he knew the person that had put it in his cup might come back looking for it. Well, this woman was so overcome with gratitude for this gentleman's, for his integrity and for the strength of his character, that she really wanted to do something in exchange for him. She wanted to give back. And so her and her husband created this website, and their goal was to gather $1,000 to give to this gentleman for his good deed, to pay him back. And within just a few short months, they had actually reached almost $175,000 because of that story. People gave. And so needless to say, he is not homeless anymore. And he drives around in his own car, and he was able to reconnect with his family. And his name is Billy Ray. the universe is all connected. We are all connected. There is oneness whether we know it or not. You see, Joe was inspired by this image of this man counting change on a Bible, and he wrote a song. And that song inspired this woman to give of her gift. Do you see where I'm going here? It's all one. I could spend all day telling you stories like this that I have personally experienced in my life and that other people have shared with me. And this is just one of them. You see, there was no separation there. There was only oneness. And when we let go of this judgment, just imagine the connectivity that occurs that's already there, working and supporting us by the universe in all areas of our life, all the time, every single day. All we have to do is open up to it. All we have to do is let go and let the separation fall away. You know, separation is judgment. Separation are these false beliefs that we tell ourselves about each other, about ourselves and each other, and they don't serve. And that's going on in a big way right now in our country. There's a lot of people telling themselves and each other things that are creating a sense of separation. It is unnecessary. The only thing that's necessary is love. Our consciousness is connected to the universe, and the universe is connected to us. We are reflecting back to the universe the way back home. This is what I believe all the time. Every moment I breathe, every moment I breathe, every moment I have a thought or take an action, I am reflecting to the universe a way back home to the center of my heart, that it is all about loving each other. And I got to experience that last night, and I'm experiencing it right now. According to some people in my family, I should be in the hospital right now. Because yesterday, I experienced what most people would consider some cardiovascular issues. And I like to be in denial about that, but it's still going on. I have intense pain going down my right arm. My hand is numb, tingly, and cold. And it's been going on now for almost 24 hours. And last night, when we got home and I went to bed, we discovered that this whole area of my side is really swollen. And I know that there's probably a pooling of cardiovascular lymph tissue, lymph fluid going on. You see, I'm all about consciousness. I'm not real into Western medicine at all. If my acupuncturist was available last night, I would have just gone and seen her. And the other thing is we have this huge deductible on our insurance, and by God, unless I really need it, I'm not going to get into to seek medical care. But I do know the power of consciousness. I do know the power of providing and putting love on things. I do know that. And so I had a unique and interesting experience happen to me last night. I went into treatment, and I went into just knowing love, and I went into asking, what is here for me to know? What is here for me to be revealed? I've got this talk going on this morning. You all are the reason why I'm here this morning. And I did it. I went into this meditation, and I had this experience, and by God, there was a tunnel, and there was a bright light. It's everything that I had ever been explained and described to, and I was not scared. I felt very comfortable, and I got to make a decision. I am not kidding you guys. This happened to me last night. I'm like, so surreal. The only person here that knows it is Maureen, because I said, please hold me in consciousness, because I don't know what I'm going to do up here. I don't know what I'm going to say, because I don't feel grounded at the moment at all. But I did make a conscious decision. I made the decision to stay. I was given that decision last night. And I chose to stay. And I did it with authenticity. I wanted to. I said, no, I'm not done here. I want to. There's something about stepping into this realization that we are all one and that we are only here to love. And by God, there's all kinds of cool stuff that gets to happen and shift when we do that. I got to do it all week. I got to be a minister all week. I've been with a ton of people this week, and interesting things happen when you're a minister and people are working through their stuff. Sometimes they like to project it out onto you, and you get to hold that space. And there's something about that, you know? There's just something that's going on right now. There's big shifts going on right now. For any of you that believe any part of what you believe, we just had a really powerful full moon. I know that's going on. That full moon's all about oneness and letting go of separation and stepping into the magic and the mystery of what's happening right now in our country and in the world. Folks, this is it. This is our moment. This is our time. This is our time where we get to reveal oneness. We get to step in to the love and the divine expression of who we are. Are you all with me? Are you all willing to do that in your own life? Amen. All right. You know, because how many times have we been there with the big Bible, and I'm not meaning to be symbolic here, but with the big something in our lap, counting the change that we have collected that day? How many times have we been there? Because it's not about the change that we're counting on that whatever's in our lap. It's not about that at all. It's about the song that was written because of the poignant experience that reached out and touched somebody, that allowed them to give, that, you know, you see where I'm going there. That story can be repeated 1,000 times. I'm sure you all have stories like that in your life, and I can't wait to hear them. But there's something really powerful going on in our lives. We are responsible for cleaning up and clearing all of our junk so that we can be the true divine expression that we were here and meant to be, so that the rest of the world can step more into their awareness and more into their awakening. That's what it's all about. And it's about holding each other up and being patient and kind and compassionate with each other while we're cleaning up our junk and clearing out our closet. Me too. That goes for everybody. You know, in our incredible class Wednesday night, we have some incredible classes going on right now. And our Wednesday night class, man, they rock. We've got some amazing folks in our Wednesday night class. And this past week, we worked on forgiveness. And I always pull out radical forgiveness and during this time in the unit when we reach that week. Because it's all about being willing to consider even one little teeny tiny smidgen, 1%. If you could consider and be willing that maybe there's 1% that anything that you have in your life to forgive was connected, and that there was a blessing that came to you from it of some sort, of some way that it benefits and supports you and the rest of the universe, and that we enter into this dance on purpose, on some level of our spiritual growth and awareness. You see, there's something magical that happens when we're willing to do that. You know, we had folks in the class that were going through this sheet saying, I don't know. I don't know if I can answer these questions this way. I don't know if I'm willing to let this go, or I don't know if I can do this. And I said, just trust the process. Just trust the process. And by the time it was over, I mean, I think they all would have danced a dance. They worked through the process. They let it go. They were willing. They were willing to consider that there was at least 1% chance that whatever it was in front of them that they needed to forgive might have been there for a benefit, to grow themselves and that other person or that other experience in greater awareness. So that's letting go of separation. We got to be willing to let go of this idea of separation. We are not separate from each other, and we are not separate from the divine. And when you start feeling icky, when you start judging yourself or others, if you start complaining, if you start feeling down, you are feeling separate, and stop it. Because you're not. You are completely connected. You are a beautiful divine expression. So our experiences affect us all in very personal ways. And each one of us has a personal truth that is no more true or no less true than somebody else. There isn't anybody that can take your truth away from you. We're here to express it, and we're here to help each other create a better reality by speaking and listening from the heart, by loving. Loving is our new language. Loving is my new language. It is the all-encompassing binding force that means nobody gets left behind. I am all up for that. What about you guys? I am all up for that. Sign me up. So I have a mantra for this week based on what I covered. And this mantra is, and I'll read it, and then if you want, we can do it together. But as I free myself from the words that define me, I am not my past, I am not my experiences, I am not my thoughts. I took that part out. because we actually are our thoughts. I will not be defined by my name, my shell, my nationality, or my gender. I will not define myself or others. We are all in this together. We are the experience of consciousness itself. We are aspects of the one source, the totality reflected through our diversity. I am love. I am fluid and ever-changing, and I am becoming. I am. Are you all willing to say this with me as your mantra for the week? All right. I free myself from the words that define me. I am not my past or my experiences. I will not be defined by my name, my shell, my nationality, or my gender. I will not define myself or others. We are all in this together. We are the experience of consciousness itself. We are aspects of the one source, the totality reflected through our diversity. I am love. I am fluid and ever-changing. I am becoming. I am. We are the change, and we are oneness. We are oneness, and so it is.